welcome to yet another episode of What's Happening Now with Laura, the platform where your stories become our stories. Tonight, I'm in an especially good mood. It should have been a horrid night because on my way to studio this evening, I had a flat tire. And I don't know when was the last time I had a flat tire. But yeah, I had a flat tire and I couldn't get my tire out of the well. So yeah, I'm trying to help myself, but I can't get the tire out of the well. So I'm standing here waiting for my dad to come get me to release me from my stress. And there were two good Samaritans, two young men who saw me standing on the side of the road, going down one way, noticed that I was stranded and came back and offered assistance. And I'll tell you, as a young woman standing on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere, two young men approaching her, I was a little bit skittish, a little, my phone is in the car, I'm outside of the car. How do I get to this phone in the event this thing turns out negatively? However, they were just offering assistance, and I was very grateful for that, because it meant that my dad didn't have to come all the way from Labrie to get me halfway through to the city. So I want to say the special good thank you to Sweeney, also known as Pan, but he says Pan. Sweeney, aka Pan, and Craig, his friend Craig. These two young men came to my assistance this evening, and I was very, very grateful for that. Could have gone differently, let me just tell you. So I was very happy for that. While I'm bigging up people, I want to take this opportunity to to say hello to a few friends of mine from Labrie, a few people that I've promised to big up over the years and haven't done so. And I got an airful yesterday, so I want to take this opportunity to say hello. Hey, Cassius and Pablo and Tony, all purpose, I think it is. Yeah, all purpose. And Jerry and Joe. I cannot say hello to all of these guys and not mention Joe in there because he take my neck off. But most especially, I want to say hello to my mom who's celebrating her birthday today. Happy birthday, Mommy. Great. So that out of the way, there are two issues that I really want to discuss with you this evening before I introduce you to my guest. And that is one of poor sportsmanship and two, parental neglect. Have you ever gone to a competition, a pageant, perhaps, let's say, and the results are read, and we all know the saying, the judge's decision is final. And we all know that in competition, people always come out to win. Everybody wants to win. But when there are several competitors, as should be in a competition, there can only be one ultimate winner. Everybody can't go home with the grand prize. So there must be one winner. So in the backs of your minds, you must be prepared. Okay, what if my best is not good enough? Or what if somebody else went through that extra mile to get ahead of me? Or what if the judges are looking for this specific thing that I just missed? Maybe I missed the mark by 0.5%, or whatever the case may be. What if? Are you prepared for that? You as the audience, are you prepared for your favorite girl, your favorite guy not to come out top dog? And you as the contestant, are you prepared for that ultimate, and I don't want to use the word failure because it takes a lot for people to compete on a stage, but to not come out as top dog? Not to come out as the grand poobah, so to speak. Are you prepared for that? When you're preparing yourself for competition, do you prepare yourself for falling short of the mark? Mentally. So you prepare yourself physically. You prepare yourself for your talent. You prepare yourself for all of the different categories. But do you prepare yourself for not, clinching that win? And I find in St. Lucia a lot of the times our contestants don't prepare themselves for that eventuality. Everybody goes out there to win, and it's a good mindset to have. Everybody tells you, focus on the win, focus on the win. Negativity, there's no place for negativity. We're not going to be thinking about whether we fail because we're going to win. But everybody, just think about it. If there are 7 contestants or 9 contestants, every single one of you is aiming for the top prize, is aiming to win. But there can only be one ultimate winner. What your reaction is after the results have been read ultimately tells us the full story of your character. How you react to having not won tells us more about you than anything that you could have said to us. So just imagine you're in a pageant and second runner-up is called, third runner-up is called, second runner-up is called, and first runner-up is called, and it's your name. But you fully expected, because maybe you won several category prizes, and so you fully expected to come out on top. And here your name is called first runner-up. Now, a lot of people describe first runner-up as the first loser. I don't subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to that, because if anything were to happen to the winner, the grand winner, the first runner-up is who steps in to replace the winner. So the first runner-up is called and it's your name. How do you react? It's a blow to your ego. We understand that. It's crushing to your soul. We understand that. We get that. But do you stomp off stage and behave petulantly? Or do you stand your ground gracefully, accept your prize, and congratulate the ultimate winner? Ultimately, that is what is the impression that the vast majority of persons who have just viewed you give your all, cheered you on, that is the last impression that they're going to be left with of you. That is the image that they're going to have, the lasting image that they're going to have of you. So when you behave like a petulant child and you stomp off that stage and you proceed to smear persons, from the organizers right down to the judges, something is seriously wrong with you. You've got to stop, take stock of yourself, take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? You know, you've got to be able to deal with situations as they come. So you didn't like the judge's decision? Deal with it. So you didn't like the person who beat you to the punch? Deal with it. But you don't go about smearing people's names, causing all sorts of mayhem in your wake, and don't expect that there's going to be consequences, because there are. No two persons are exactly the same, even identical twins. My reaction to something is going to be totally different to somebody else. And I, for one, I think it's high time that organizers of these pageants make one of these contestants an example of what not to do when you miss the mark. Somebody has to call these contestants up and make them take stock of themselves and make them account for their actions, because it is impolite, to say the very least, to put it very, very mildly, impolite to snub an organizer who's gone all out to ensure that you are provided with a platform to speak out to hundreds of persons, if not thousands of people. And your way of dealing with a little upset, a little disappointment, is to castigate, is to malign, is to get on with all sorts of histrionics. That is just unforgivable. And I, for one, look forward to the day when a pageant organizer holds a contestant accountable and strips them of their title, of the prizes, just completely wipe them off of the pageant as if they had never participated. Because there are lots of young girls, a lot of young people who are looking at these pageants and looking up to you based on your platform and looking at you as an example, a role model, and how you behave afterward speaks even more loudly and more eloquently than anything you could have said on the night of the pageant with a mic in your hand. Food for thought. Just think about it. And you know what? If it falls in your plate, deal with it. Fix it, because it's going to fix you. Now, on to parental neglect. Have you ever gone to a shopping mall, to a fast food joint, to popular watering hole, and find scores of school-aged children, sometimes even during school hours, begging for alms? I need $1 to buy something in the supermarket. The lady, can you give me something to eat? Can you? And most times they don't ask you for something to eat, you know. They ask you for the money to procure that something to eat. And if you were to pass that strip 52 times in 52 minutes, then watch and face, you know. They don't really care who it is that they're asking. As long as you have a couple of pairs of legs, you have a bag, or you're going into some sort of establishment where commercial activity takes place, it means that you have a couple dollars and they're going to hustle you for that couple dollars. And while I personally don't have a problem with assisting young kids, young children in need, I have a serious problem with parents who send their kids out begging, who send their kids out begging, particularly when they're supposed to be at school. You're denying your child an education because you couldn't get off your ruckus and go out there and get a job like everybody else to feed and clothe your children. Now, I know some of you are going to say some people just cannot afford. It's not that they're not getting jobs. There are no jobs to be had. But if you're going to be begging, if somebody's going to be begging, let it be you. Spare your child the indignation. You know, it is Sir Arthur who told us that the escape route from poverty is not money. It's an education. So while you're pulling your child out of school to go beg for a couple dollars, you're ensuring, you're perpetuating the cycle of poverty which you find yourself in. Because that child could be getting an education. That child could be your answer out of poverty. We as adults make adult decisions. And you know what? We as adults should be able to deal with the consequences of our adult decisions. It is unfair. I remember when I was at school, in primary school, many moons ago, every Wednesday, I think it was it Wednesday or Tuesday? But one day in the week, I think it was Wednesdays, every Wednesday, certain kids would miss school every Wednesday. Why is that? Because their parents would pull them out of school to go cut bananas. It was banana cutting day. And so you always knew the children whose parents were farmers. And you always knew the children whose parents did not think highly enough of an education to ensure that their children remained in school and perhaps pay an extra hand to cut the bananas. At the time, it was very hurtful for me because some of my friends suffered that fate. Luckily for them, they were bright enough to understand the importance of an education and did not allow for that setback to be their setback in life, in the future. And while some of you may be sitting home and saying, that built character and that ensured that they understood and appreciated the value of hard work and the value of $1, just imagine how much more they could have contributed to society had they gotten that extra day of tuition. And so for you to take your child out of school almost on a daily basis to go out begging, that is the epitome of parental neglect and parental abuse. And you don't know what's going on out there, who your children come across, you don't know who will offer them a fistful of dollars for some private pleasure time. You don't know who out there is grooming your child. And we hear about it all the time. All the time. Children are groomed. There are these predators out there who prey on these children, who find their weaknesses and their vulnerability and prey on that so that they can satisfy their sick desires. It's heinous. It's egregious. And some of you parents just don't get it. You know what? You just don't care. You really do not. Not so long ago, the Prime Minister made a statement about young girls who have a child and find themselves pregnant again with a second child, and how the state ought to step in and take the child away and provide for that child. And that's nothing new, because the state is already doing that in some cases. And we were all up in arms. The things we didn't say, the Prime Minister doesn't care. The Prime Minister is not in touch. But when you have a 33-year-old or a 45-year-old woman who's constantly pregnant, in your 30s or even in your early 40s, and you have 10 children, you don't know what a day's work is. And none of them children are teenagers. There's something seriously and fundamentally wrong here. And we say we ought not to step in, the state ought not to step in and say enough is enough. And even when you've given enough assistance, and you're looking like a bag of chips, and your children are out there begging, and your children are in a bad way, and your children haven't seen a shower in weeks, nor the inside of a classroom, and the state ought not to step in and hold you accountable, I say something is wrong with you who think that's okay. We all know that social services department, the social services system in this country is inept, whether by choice or inevitability. The fact of the matter is, it is woefully short-staffed, it is woefully inadequate. And so, when parents see nothing wrong with sending the children out to beg, and when the justice system, the family court, when they're hauled before the family court, does nothing, you're just as incorrigible, you're just as guilty, you're just as culpable. And you're making the work of social services that much more difficult. I wonder what the fine is for neglect in this country. What is the punishment, if any, on our law books for neglectful parents? When you can shuck your responsibility as a parent and don't give two hoots about the children that you have birthed, and when you live in abject squalor, and for 2 minutes of pleasure, if that, you do not think of the consequences of the 2 decades of responsibility that lies ahead of you, something is wrong with you. You better check yourself, because you're going to wreck yourself. And not only are you going to wreck yourself, you are going to wreck the lives of countless children, not just the ones that you have birthed, but every child that they come into contact with has the potential to be wrecked by the decisions that you have made. History and experts will tell us that these are the children who are the most vulnerable, and as a result, they are the ones easily preyed on for abuse, whether it's drug abuse, physical abuse, or sexual abuse. And maybe not from you in the home, but from the persons out there that you put them along the path, a path that they should never even be on. Something is wrong with you. We got to stop and check ourselves. We must stop and check ourselves, because the consequences are way too far-reaching. We're due for a break. When we come back, my guests, stay tuned. Welcome back, and thank you for staying tuned to What's Happening Now with Laura. It's exciting back here in studio, in my air, around me, everywhere. One of my guests just mentioned to me, one of the things about why we behave so poorly when we do not win is because we perpetuate that. You know, back in the day when I was growing up, we used to know who came first in class. You know, at the end of term, when you write your end of term exam, we used to know who came first in class, first, second, third, fourth, right down to the last person. Maybe the last, was a little bit much, but we always knew who came first, second, and third at least in class, because it gave you something to aspire to. You had this friendly competition thing going on, friendly rivalry. You know, during exams time, my best friend and I didn't talk. You know, only to say, I'm going to beat you this term. You know, you're not going to beat me this term, especially in our favorite subjects. After exams, it's all done, because we understood that it's a competition. It's a a little rivalry, friendly rivalry. And then after that, it's done, because that was implanted in us. It was inculcated in us. Now, we don't want kids to feel bad. So every time you compete, there is a participatory award that is given. You know, you get a certificate, or you get an award for just being there, for just participating. And whilst that is good in a sense, because every child feels appreciated, what it doesn't prepare you for is competition out there in the real world. Because when you go out for a job, or you go out, you're competing for a project or something, when you do not get the project or you don't get the job, the employer does not come to you and say, well, you didn't get the job, but here's a consolatory prize, a consolatory job. It doesn't happen. So from as early as possible that we can get our children prepared for loss rather than failure, for loss, the better it would be for them adjusting when they get out there in the real world. But anyway, we've dealt with that. On to other things. My guest this evening is Club Gar. And I have two men with me, seated with me, and some of them, well, one of them is no stranger. He was here last year. And Club Gar is one of those organizations, these clubs that always does something to give back. You know, it's not just to their members, but to give back to society. And I just wrote, before we went on air, I wrote a little blurb, and allow me to share it with you before I introduce my guest. Imagine a day in total darkness, a day when color ceases to exist, a day devoid of light. Appalling, isn't it? But this is exactly what some of us must face daily. And for others, the imminent closure of the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association rings like a death knell. With me this evening are Mr. Gregory Joseph, member and walk coordinator of Walk for a Cause, and Mr. Anthony Bristol, founding member and executive member of Club Gar. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you very much,
Thanks
Laura.
for having us.
Great.
Good to be here with you again.
Again. When I got the call saying, you know, asking whether I could have you guys on, I said, I wondered why I hadn't gotten the call. And I had thought actually that I'd missed the walk and that the walk had taken place already. So I'm very happy that you're here, because if there's one thing that I really enjoy doing things that give back and speaking to or lending support to organizations that give back to society. And last year, Walk for a Cause dealt with violence against women.
Right, with domestic violence.
Domestic violence, right.
Yes.
And I always do that. I always stack women in there because, you know, I really think that while a lot of people think that a lot has been said and done for women, I think there are a lot of women out there who have not felt that. And I think it's important for me as a female, and I come across a lot of cases of abuse every day, even in the most unlikely of circumstances, of women that have been abused and continue to be abused. And abuse has no mark, it has no favorites, it pays no favoritism. And it's true there are men, but I always stack on for women because, you know, I feel it more for them. Not that I'm you know, casting the men folk aside, but, you know, I feel it for my women folk. But you looked at domestic violence last year, and this year you're looking at blindness or sight, or what exactly are you looking at?
Well, I will start this off by just saying what we do every year is we do an assessment, a needs assessment of what's going on in our society. So, like you have what's going on.
Right,
Laura.
and that's
We have what's going on.
Right,
We have
making
what's
your
going on.
stories.
We have what's going on
Yeah.
in St. Lucia. And really what we want to do every year is try and make sure we find a cause that's relevant. So there are always a couple competing causes that come up. Some of them tend to roll over from year to year, but they don't get to the top, because when we look around, we have to do an assessment of what is happening, who is
What's
most
relevant.
in need, what's relevant right now. So domestic violence was very relevant last year. We had 6 homicides in the first 2 months of the year that were all related to domestic violence. This year we faced an interesting challenge where a charitable organization that has for literally since its incorporation in 1972, which is some 46 years or so, and even before it was formally incorporated, has been providing life-changing services and support and education and integration to people with, you know, blindness or vision impairment, and even some cases multidisciplinary, you know, who have multiple disabilities and visual impairment. An organization that's going through all that for its people is underfunded right now, and we really have to step up and say, hey, not just are we going to raise some money, but we want to raise awareness and hope that this will open, you know, the avenues for a discussion as to what do we need to do to make this organization, to, you know, give it the ability to continue in its role and to be more impactful as it moves forward.
Great. So this year we're looking at Blind Welfare Association, and one of the things I always say when I look at when I talk about the Blind Welfare Association, I say it impacts all of us, whether we're actually blind or not. Because I wear glasses, obviously, and when I don't have my glasses on and I can't see very clearly, my vision is not as sharp. It's almost as if I'm missing out on something. I'm unsettled. I need to have those on my face, and I can afford to get glasses. But there are so many other people who can't afford that, and then there are so many others who just cannot see. Nothing. And so when I think about it, and I think how disadvantaged I am that I have to wear spectacles, I just think about those other people, and it really, resonates with me. Now take us back to last year. Every year you do this walk, and you select a cause and you raise funds, and the funds go to that. Last year you did domestic violence, and your target was what, 35,000?
Yeah, around there.
Right. So did you meet that target?
I'll let Greg answer that one.
Yeah, just to make a point though, the funds don't just go to the organization. What we have is we have to be accountable for every dollar we raise, because we're very proud to say that every dollar we raise goes towards the cause. We don't have administrative fees, we don't have massive overheads, and we don't have profits.
Right.
This is 100% fundraising donation, but it goes to the NCF.
So you through the NCF, right?
And
right.
with the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, that's how the funds get dispersed. So the charity organization or anybody through them has to then submit the proposal, then the funds are released.
So now that's interesting, because I don't think I understood that aspect of it.
Yeah.
So the funding goes through to the NCF for the Blind Welfare Association. Now, say I needed assistance, I would now make a proposal to whom? The Blind Welfare Association or NCF?
Well, ideally, you would not know what you need unless you went to your doctor, your ophthalmologist, or you went to the association. Because I mean, they're a national outreach program. There's service centers around St. Lucia, and you go there because of various health issues, vision-related issues, and you may fall into a category that requires some further treatment or some other service that if you're in a community or if you're in a position that doesn't have easy access to whatever that service is, then you could then have your case elevated and brought forward.
And so the association, Blind Welfare Association, would be making that appeal on your behalf? Or?
The association, the specialist, the doctor, because the funds are there to support that cause.
That cause, right.
So once it's approved through the members who are listed on the memorandum, it's then a process goes forward from there.
So the funding, the funds, those funds are not used for recurring expenditure like salaries or the light bill and the water bill and the internet and that kind of thing.
No. You see, this is one of the biggest concerns with donors, and I think in charities really have to get the different tiers. The primary purpose of this is to directly touch the needs of the persons who actually need the service.
Right.
And what you do is they can come with the project, say we're going to go and support a center in Dennery, for instance, the Dennery Center. And for the Dennery Center, we need to support it for X months, which is why that's a specific project, and that costs X dollars. They have to write a proposal, and there are 3 people who will approve the proposal. 2 are doctors, and 1 is Dame Paulette, who we'll speak of later. And once any of these 2 people endorse it, it effectively has the seal of approval, and then it comes to us. We say, "Is it endorsed? It's endorsed. NCF, please pay out because it's in accordance with what's done."
Right.
What that does is it makes sure that the money, first of all, is not kept by us or held by us, so it's in an account, and the NCF tells us how much is used. But importantly, there's a mechanism where everybody knows what are the terms for it and how we can get it done. So the aim really is to make sure that the funds are identified and quantified. As Greg said, we're not trying to get overheads or there's no clawback for us at all. Every penny after expenses. So we pay for the T-shirts, which we have to pay for, and there's things we have. But once we paid for the absolute core expenses, go straight to the NCF.
And every penny collected for that goes towards
that purpose.
Right. So it's nothing watered down or anything like that. Because I absolutely admire that. I think that's the right way to go about it. Because a lot of the times you give funding to organizations, and we're like, well, the electric bill is due and that is for this, but let's funnel it that way, and then we'll find the funding to put it back, and then it never gets done, and then there's no tangible proof of that funding having been used for the specific purpose for which it was intended. So that's a good way for accounting, and I think a lot of charities, they don't have that accountability, and I think that's very important. So to the walk now. When is the walk?
Of course, Captain.
Sunday, June 3rd.
So that's like next week. That's Sunday, the following Sunday. Okay. All right. So 20. So the following. So you've got 2 more weeks, right? Pretty much, almost, to register. And what is registration like?
So registration for adults is $30. For children 12 and under, it's $25. And for teams consisting of 10 or more, it's $25 per person.
Right. And what comes with the registration?
Get this fabulous T-shirt.
Right, that you guys are so fabulously modeling this evening.
And as our sponsors come on board, some of them would want to contribute.
Right, they give other trinkets and different
so
things.
The idea of it is you get the T-shirt. That's proof of your registration. And there are some perks along the way as well.
Now, usually with these walks, there are always the auxiliary things, the other things, little things, peripheral things happening. Is there anything specific happening this year with Walk With Your Cause?
Yeah, what we try to do is to have a groundswell build-up. So in addition to our media campaigns, especially social media, I mean, you have to be on social media to get anything here these days. We have our pre-walk workouts. Too many W's in there.
Oh, that's a tongue twister right there.
Our pre-walk
I'm not going to try
workouts.
to repeat that.
So we had our first one today.
Oh, wow.
And our next it was hosted by Fitness Freaks.
Oh, nice.
We have coming up again on Thursday, and then again 2 more next week.
So where are these pre-walk workouts?
There we go. We have them at Caribbean Cinemas car park from 5:30 in the evening.
Oh, from 5:30, and anybody's welcome, whether
Everybody
you're
is
walking
welcome.
or not.
No, we want people to get out there, get healthy, be a part of it. So you can come to the workout just if you're a member of that gym, come and work out, but we're trying to get the registration going. So there will be a drive there to encourage you to sign up with your friends.
So while you come out to work out, and if you like what you've done, then you can sign up.
What you've done.
So you're going to sign up right there and then.
Yes.
So there's a sign up booth there.
Get registered right away. Tell your friends, spread the word right away, and then come back out 2 days later.
Right. And I think that's so important, not just because it's a fantastic way to get people out and to socialize and to get them interested, but I think a lot of the times people go on these walks and they're not prepared for it. And I know your walk is what, 4 miles?
Only 4 miles.
He says only 4 miles, and I'm like,
it's the shortest walk.
It may be the shortest walk,
you have to
but
understand it's the walk with the most impact.
Yeah, but it could be the shortest walk, right? But I ain't just going to take myself and go walk 4 miles just like that. A lot of the times people don't think about that, and then at the end of the walk, you have pull hamstring there, and you have stitches there, and you have all of that because you're not prepared. So I like the fact of that you're preparing, you warming up towards the big event.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, a lot of decisions that we have when it comes to the walk and the cause, we try to find some way to tie back in the nation's health as well. Because a healthy nation is a less dependent nation. It puts less burden on our healthcare systems. It puts less burden on our government systems. And it makes us more accountable for our own bodies, our own actions, and our own mental health. Mental health, physical health, these things all tie back in to then making sure that we're all capable to giving back to our nation.
Right. So awesome. So there's the pre-walk workout. Got that one.
Better in it than me.
Pre-walk workout. And then, so the walk starts is on June 3rd.
Yeah, but we also on Saturdays, this Saturday, next week Saturday, we'll be at the JQ Mall doing registration drives as well.
Right. So you go to the people.
Yeah,
you're not just static.
Out there physically inside. So you can come out to the JQ Mall on Saturdays. Our registration outlets are at Bread Basket, Blue Monkey in Rodney Bay, and on Bridge Street. Steve's Barbershop, very reliable partner every year. And our title sponsor, Digicel, at their Experience Store on William Peter Boulevard.
Okay. Now, hear this, huh? I hear all the registration points are from Castries up. So I'm from Labrie, and so I want to walk, but I'm down in the south, so I can't register down south.
Okay. So you pick up your phone. You dial
And I can call, I can call Anthony.
714
Oh, okay.
714-6969. I will answer the phone, and I will ensure that you get the packages.
Right. So let's say that again.
Just, sorry. Repeat the number.
The repeat the number?
714. Junior, you have that? 714-6969.
Right. So if you're anywhere south of Castries, you could still register.
Absolutely.
Right. And you were
And if
saying?
you don't have minutes on your phone, you just get online, use data, get on Wi-Fi, find us on social media. We walk, on social media, walk for a cause. Contact us. We're very active. We're very responsive. Reach out. We can find out.
So there are various ways.
Yes.
We will get you. If you want to walk, just reach out
We'll
for us.
get it there.
Right.
We'll be in touch.
Because I know every time I do one of those shows where it's a walk or something like that, persons always ask, so what about us in the south? Like, we don't matter.
That's not true. And remember we discussed
just
Rafi.
saying.
Remember we discussed Rafi last year.
Yes, we did.
We did. So Rafi's
and so
already
Rafi's on
contacted
bo-
me. He's on
okay.
board, and he's
All
got
right.
the bus coming up.
Okay.
And he said to me, "Briss, as many buses as you want, we can get."
Okay.
So we have your buses.
So what time is the walk?
6:30 a.m. sharp.
Kick off.
We encourage everybody to get there for 6
Is there a
a.m.
warm up before the walk?
Because at 6 a.m. we've got our warm up.
So
So if you
really and
list the
truly, they
whole
should be
2
there
weeks,
for 6 o'clock.
You should be there for 5:30. Take
Yeah.
weather into account.
You're really
take
ambitious.
traffic into account.
Really ambitious here.
6
But I
a.m.,
know people
we
when
get
they
warm.
they go to these things, they're out there.
Yeah.
They can't get to work on time, but they can get there for the 5:30 because no, seriously, it's a fact. They do these walks and then everybody's there because it's a social event. It's a Lyman thing. They come out with their friends and it's a fun activity.
Yes.
Working out like hell, but it's a fun activity and they get to socialize. So the warm up starts at 6. At 6, and the walk kicks off at 6:30.
From VG Roundabout, heading north, 4 miles, Seymour
Straight?
Giro Hill, turn a left. You don't have to go up that hill. Isn't that a great escape?
Okay. That just threw me off because as soon as I hear walking, and you know me, I've been stuck on the 4 miles, and your response has been consistent. It's the shortest walk. It's the shortest walk. I'm not hearing short. It's miles. Miles.
Doable.
It's doable. It's
Yeah.
doable.
So let's walk through the route again. It's from the
So
VG.
from VG Roundabout, heading up along the highway, turn a left at Shock Roundabout, go up the Window Hill. Think no more about hills. From there, it's all downhill,
Downhill.
through Marisol, through Borderage, and at the gap to you know where Vel's gym is.
Right.
We're going downstairs Vel's gym.
So that's
Right there.
yeah, you're right. It's short. Oh, that's doable, guys. Come on, I could do that. I could do that walk. Easy.
And we're going to make it even more fun on the road.
Yeah, talk to me about that.
We're adding some entertainment on the road.
Nice.
For the first time, 5th anniversary, we're adding some entertainment on the road to help those who are not there in a competitive nature, but who want to come out for that fun.
Yeah, like people like
lively
me,
atmosphere.
that just see
Yeah.
4 miles.
So-
4 miles. I'm going to be walking 4 miles
Well, you
today.
might be chipping 4
Right.
miles.
Now that's doable. That's even more doable
You might
than
take
the
a
route.
walk and a
Yes,
wine for a
absolutely.
few miles.
Of course. I mean, why not? Why not? And you get even a greater workout that way because
You're
doing
not thinking
yeah,
about
you're not
it.
thinking about it. Then you're doing all the other things. You're using all different sorts of muscle groups that you would probably necessarily use if you were just walking straight. So that's awesome. So there's going to be a music truck and some entertainment on the road.
Well, yeah, the music on the road, and then what we've also done this year, I mean, it's our 5th anniversary. I mean, we're not trying to brag about our 5th anniversary, we're trying to make this about the cause. But there's a lot of people who are going to say, well, 6 o'clock, 6:30, can't do that, or not going to advocate to skip church, but afterwards. What we're doing is making Sunday, the 3rd June, the full morning of entertainment and activities. So you can do the $30 registration, join the walk, and at the finish line, there's going to be a full setup for kids and adults. Kids appropriate activities and entertainment, adult zone activities and entertainment. And if you skip the walk, you can still come to the grounds, pay the same $30 to have access still support the cause.
And that's
in
the
your own way.
that's the important thing. So the $30 is not just to get a T-shirt or whatever.
No.
I mean, if you can't make the walk, you can always still contribute that $30
You
and
can
get something
register
in.
and wear the shirt that
yeah.
day, or come out and enjoy, have a good time.
Right, right. And just bear in mind that the $30 that you're spending, $30 that you're donating, that goes to a worthy cause. That goes to the people who would probably lose their eyesight completely. That goes to people, children, and particularly children, who are the most vulnerable ones. They're not in a position to help themselves. They have to rely on other people. They've got to rely on their parents, and some of them don't have parents, so to speak. They've got to rely on the good-heartedness of strangers. You know, they've got to rely on those visiting doctors. And this is one way that you can contribute to ensuring that they have the windows that you have to see the world and to function efficiently and effectively in this world. Yeah? We're due for a break. When we come back, more with Club Gar. Welcome back, Sid Lucian. Thank you for staying tuned to What's Happening Now with Laura, where we make your stories our stories. With me is Club Gar, and we have Mr. Gregory Joseph and Mr. Anthony Bristol, who are here to talk to us about the annual Walk for a Cause. And this year, the cause is the Blind Welfare Association.
Right. Thanks, Laura. I think what's really important with Blind Welfare is when you look at the outreach they've had as an organization, what they've done is they've channeled international funding and international resources of the finest, world-class, cutting-edge medical professionals from the United States through West Virginia University, who have come down here and for many years been providing interventions that are changing the lives of children. If you can take a child who's going to lose their sight or who's significantly visually impaired that they can't function, and through surgical interventions and others, you can restore that child's sight to making that child functional, you've changed that child's life. You've changed the family around that child, because when one member of a family is burdened, the entire family is going to feel the burden.
Absolutely.
Those conduits with the University of West Virginia have also led to some glaucoma laser treatment, which is first of its kind in the region. It's a pioneer project that was done in St. Lucia with 150 to 200 people. It's now been extended to Dominica now, and the results are showing that this laser treatment is far more effective than traditional medication. So now again, this treatment is being provided, a study is being done using St. Lucia as a model, and now it's been so successful, it's now being projected out to the rest of the region. What would we have done? What would those 200 people have done were it not for the St. Lucia Blind Welfare? What would the 1,000 children who have been treated, through Kids in Sight have done if they was not for St. Lucia Blind Welfare? So when you have these significant interventions going on, we have to really look to see, how do we support it? Because it's not just saying it's another charity. Some of the organizations we deal with, when they apply for funding, we look at them, they don't qualify. They can't show me how they reach out and touch. They can't show the team. And if you can't show the team how you touch, but this one touches everywhere. And even with Perkins University, there's something where they have an outreach center in Dennery. So this Dennery Center started in 2005. And it was really just a part-time daycare for people with multiple disabilities and visual impairment. Because remember, visual impairment is linked in some cases to other disabilities. By 2007 it was a full-time center, and a full-time center funded by Perkins. What you had is, in that program, probably also almost another 1,000 people receiving care in-home and also in the centers. And Perkins, which is Perkins School for the Blind in Boston, continued to provide the financial support for these children and the Dennery community, and also a center in Castries as well. If you think about it, that's over 9-10 years of a program running that's made such a difference to the lives of these people. Because when you teach people with disabilities how to cope, how to function, how to be productive, how to have self-esteem, they are now able to move forward with their lives.
Yeah, because they're less dependent.
They're less dependent.
Then that releases the resources that you would have focused on them to do something else.
It releases somebody from having to be a full-time carer
Right.
because they are now independent
Exactly.
and they're productive members of your society. So here we have this Perkins investment and involvement and the Dennery Centre, Child Development Centre, and also with CDGC in Castries as well. And now they've done all this, and then unfortunately Perkins in 2016 changes his funding rules, and that's where the shortfall starts for St. Lucia Blind Welfare. Because without that support that they were getting from Perkins, the Dennery Centre now does not have a permanent home, is under threat of being closed. And if you close those avenues for hope, the Dr. Birds and all the others who support these centres, along with Mr. Avril and the executive team, and the nurses and other support staff of Blind Welfare, cannot make that difference. So this charity is not merely one to say, well, you know, they do things. No, they don't do things. They change lives. They change not just the life of
It's
the person
not
who's
just
impaired.
meaningless activity, because you know you have these charities that they do things. They put on a workshop here, and you ask, what is the purpose? Then you come out of the workshop with something, but then there's no follow up. There's no real substantive way of touching you, of quantifying what you've done. But with the Blind Welfare Association, it's quantifiable. It's qualitative and quantifiable. You have all these people
And
who
it's
are
sustainable. You're changing a life that then expands rather than...
Exactly.
Right.
And so there's a continuous flow of persons who are coming through needing their assistance, not just persons who started off with them and who are just there rotating and spinning, topping mud, but these people have moved on, and you have a fresh batch of people who now need help, and that without the Blind Welfare Association, that help is not forthcoming.
Right. I mean, even if you look at this year's academic year, 2016-2017, or last year, there were 60 students who were blind and or visually impaired who would not have been able to be integrated into school. Now, if you take someone and you put them outside of society, outside of school, their social skills, their confidence, interaction, productivity are all going to be constricted because their confidence is damaged, their value. 60 of these children, through the work of the Blind Welfare, were integrated into normal school in just 1 year.
Wow.
60 lives changed. 60 families proud to drop their kids off at school.
Wow.
Teachers trained. And this is another part of it, because they don't just stay there and they actually go and train the teachers. You know, I think for us, the joy of our work is not just to meet the charities. When we delve down and do the research into what value they add, it's tremendous. And this charity, we need it in this country. I will give 2 examples that are really touching. You know, when my daughter, who's now 12, was much younger, she had terrible headaches. And where did we take her to? St. Lucia Blind Welfare. Because there was a program that they have, which is the Eye Care St. Lucia. And Eye Care St. Lucia will see anybody. And if you can afford to pay, you pay. But if you can't afford to pay, you don't have to pay.
Right.
And guess what? They do not refuse anybody. And 80% of the people who receive their services don't pay. 80%. That's people who would not have access to healthcare. Now, we didn't go because we couldn't afford. We did pay, but we went because there was a specialist that was flown in from overseas who was the specialist, recommended to us by our eye doctor to go and see this specialist here. So when you can have professionals here recommending you go to St. Lucia Blind Welfare to see world-class specialists, that's a real add-on. That's a world-class service delivery in St. Lucia. And then there's a lady who works with me, and she has a little daughter, cutest little girl in the world. Eyes need correction. Couldn't afford that surgery. That surgery cost thousands and thousands and thousands of US dollars. Again, West Virginia University brings down their best teams here, and for a paltry sum, $200.
Wow.
With life-changing surgeries, life-changing intervention. So, you know, we really need to understand that this is not a normal situation of saying, oh, well, maybe they do it. They are touching lives. We need to support them. And it's real. It's real. You can see it. But thousands of people are treated every year by St. Lucia Blind
One
Welfare.
of the things that you said earlier, Anthony, that really resonated with me was when you talked about the 60 kids that are integrated into mainstream schooling. I just had a flashback when I was at school, in primary school. I didn't know anybody in the entire school that wore glasses or was visually impaired. Nobody. There was only this one girl that I could remember, and she wore glasses, but they were so thick, she was teased mercilessly. But other than that, I can't recall anybody else. And it just brought to mind, this is something that we just took for granted, that if you can't see, you can't go to school. How are you going to learn? How are you going to see what, what we just take it for granted?
A perfectly functioning brain, which probably has
Yeah.
better recall and better memory than all of us with sight.
Exactly.
You know?
And it's just occurred to me, and this is just within my community, and I'm thinking, how many other communities were there where children with vision problems weren't allowed to school? They were denied an education. And earlier I spoke about denying your children an education, and that's the root out of poverty. And we're denying these children an education because they have a disability. They see life differently from us. And it's really sinking home, because now you're talking about these 60 children who would have been home otherwise.
In 1 year. And Laura, this is
And that's just 1 year.
And I think, this is what I want people to understand, that it's not a situation of saying, oh, well, maybe. No, guys, these are 60 children, 60 kids who are going, because once you give a child an opportunity, especially a child who has a challenge, they don't let you down. They are going to perform. They are going to integrate. They're going to make the most of it. They're actually going to build sensitivity and compassion amongst their peers, because their friends, they will make new friends, and the friends will become more sensitive than you and I were.
Exactly.
And they will have more compassion. They will be better citizens.
Yes.
They're going to have a greater drive to give
because they have a better
to do
appreciation. They're more integrated. You have a higher tolerance for people who are different to you. I didn't have that opportunity.
Because again, just the girl who you'd say she had Coke bottle
Yeah,
glasses.
yeah.
But think of the sense, because what's going to happen when you meet this person? She's going to be cared for.
Yeah.
Or he's going to be cared for, and over time, and that's a lifelong friend now you've built.
Absolutely.
Because of an opportunity that comes from an organization that needs our support. And I'll give it another example. If there is such need in Dennery that we could have a full-time center out of what is a part-time, and if there's one in Castries, what about the other coast? Are we saying that on the entire West Coast there's no need? Are we saying that because clearly there is a need, but without the funding, we don't get there. So again, maybe this sparks a conversation with the Ministry of Health, who is a partner in many of these initiatives with the blind welfare. Maybe it sparks a conversation with other funders, and I will look to other international funders who I've worked with, and donors, because what I see here is really an opportunity for us to say, we can get this back to where it was, but how much further should we take it? Because maybe where it was good, but we can probably do a lot better, because maybe there's a lot more need. And every time you turn on one light in a child's life, and it's not a light, but it's a light of hope, a light of value, you've changed lives, So this one, touches me really, really deeply, because I think it's so real. And these kids, again, with multiple disability, visual impairment, we used to make them basket weave in the old days. It was, go back.
I think they can't contribute otherwise.
And then now, but now we build in centers. Now the work of CDGC, the involvement of the Perkins School of the Blind. There's so many levels that blind welfare has added value. And I hope Junior has it all queued up, because we have a really tremendous endorsement we got. And I think that would be really wonderful. I don't know if Junior if you can tack him and see if Mr. Technical.
Yes, so I think that's we're talking about Dame Paulette.
Yes.
Right, giving her endorsement. So let's take a listen.
Fellow St. Lucians, I have served as patron of the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association for the 20 years I held office as Governor General. This charity is very, very dear to me, as I have seen the marked and significant differences in the lives of so many of our visually impaired. I am delighted that Club GA has selected the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association for its cause for 2018. I encourage all able-bodied St. Lucians to show up and walk on June 3rd in support of the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association and Walk for a Cause 2018.
By Dame Paulette Louise. I mean, this is a woman that everybody looks up to, regardless of race, color, creed, whatever. and she's giving you an endorsement.
Well, she's not giving us an endorsement.
I mean, she's giving the cause an endorsement, which you guys are, but it's one and the same.
Yeah.
We're not splitting hairs. We're not splitting hairs on that. But I think it's fun. Is she going to be walking?
Well, one of our members, first of all, I'd like to thank Dame Paulette publicly for her gracious acceptance of our request to support this. Dame Paulette was not feeling very well. She just returned from a trip, and we sent her the script of what we thought. And of course, she improved it significantly.
Of course.
In her own very distinguished way.
Yes, of course.
But it was really a delight because she was so receptive and so supportive. But she's supportive because, as she says in her endorsement, it's true. She's seen how it has made a significant impact in the lives of many. So, as to your question as to whether Dame Paulette is walking, I was asked that by a member of the club, and I replied in our club chat group. I leave that to her. A well-established discretion. We do hope she comes.
Yes, because
it'll
be an even greater endorsement and really encourage persons to come out and you know what though? Whether she's coming or not, the only one way you're going to find out is if you're on the walk. If you come out to walk, that's the only way you're going to know if Dame is walking. And then you'll be walking alongside the great Dame Paulette Weezy. So you need to come out. It's only $30, guys. It's only $30. Forget about whether you get the t-shirt, whether you get a t-shirt of your size or whatever it is. The important thing is that $30 or $20 or $25 is going towards a very, very worthy cause. And I know that sounds very trite, but it is a fact. It's a very worthy cause that you're going to be contributing to. $30 is nothing. We eat $30 in like 15 minutes. So, come on. I mean, today it's somebody else who's going blind, who needs corrective surgery, who needs to learn Braille. And that's the other thing I need to come back to ask you about, whether the association engages in the reading of Braille, right? But this is something that you could really contribute. A lot of the times we talk about the healthcare, and these days that's a buzzword, that's the in thing. If you don't talk about healthcare, you're not in it. You haven't spoken about anything yet. And this is a very tangible way in which you could be a part of the solution. You could be a part of the solution in eye healthcare, because we know our hospitals are not equipped. We know that our government can always provide everything. Whether you like the government or you don't like the government, but you could be a part of the solution. And the Blind Welfare Association, through Walk for a Cause, is one way you could be a part of that solution. Right.
Yes, I think your question on technologies that are being used now, Braille is clearly, been established and clearly an integral part of how people who are visually impaired communicate and can read and so on. What's critical now, though, is there are new technologies that are out there. And if you look at the technologies we have where you can speak to your phone and all these things, there's several technologies out there. And all of these are being explored and developed by the Blind Welfare. Again, when you are linked and annexed with universities and schools for the blind in the United States, their technology will be cutting edge. However, no matter how benevolent they may be with their time, it's very difficult to get all the equipment. So again, the funds that will be raised, if part of that is because we need to pay $20,000 to buy some equipment to help the kids or to help those who are impaired, get training or be able to learn and get special apps for their phones or special phones, then that is available to them. And that's what we want to do. Make the difference, not just in Braille, because Braille is obviously critical and a fundamental part of this, but to go to the other technologies, because there are the technologies out there that will allow you to deliver a better quality of life to the person who has the impaired vision.
I know every year you have a target that you aim to.
Yes, our shooting club, we must have a target.
There you go. I didn't even think about that pun. But absolutely, what is your target that you're aiming for?
That's your course captain here.
We've set a new benchmark at 40,000.
40,000. Yes. And we're hoping that we're
hoping to blow that out.
Yeah. Well, you blew last year's, so we're hoping that we want to get to the target. Gregory's a blood. I just want to hit the target. I'm a precision guy. I want to hit the target. I'm a blood. I'll hit the target. You're right. But this is a very worthy cause in Michigan, as I said before. And every dollar counts. Every dollar counts. If you're not able to be on the walk, maybe you're working, maybe it's just not possible, go ahead and contribute. You cannot get a more tangible or quantifiable cause to contribute to than the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association. The lines are now open. The number to call is 451-9788, or you can send me your WhatsApp messages on 284-6536, or shoot me an email oh God, did I say that? At laurashafia@gmail.com, and share your views and ask any questions that we may not have touched on. Again, the number is 451-9788, WhatsApp 284-6536, and email laurashafia@gmail.com. Anything else you want to add, gentlemen?
A lot to add.
So
But
much more.
again, I'd like to really thank Corporate St. Lucia. Our title sponsor has just been awesome. Easy to work with. New procedures, obviously, the expanding company. New team players we've been working with
And
Sue.
for those of us who don't know who
Digicel.
Right.
Digicel is Digicel, and they've been great. Very supportive, very responsive. Really thankful for them, and so many others who've come on board. Solution Distillers are always there with us. Fix is always there with us. We've had a set of legacy sponsors: Pine Hill Products, Guardsman. We've had just loads of people who every year have returned to us. Willing to contribute. And this year we've had some new additions with CGM Gallagher Insurance Brokers. We've also had Nagico in Insurance, so we've gotten a new sector to come on board and participate. We have Shopbox who's come on board. 123 Digital is coming on board. A lot of people are coming on board. I mean, Johnson's Hardware was another one who quite happily came on board to say, look, this is a worthy cause. And we would not be able to achieve the things we can achieve were it not for the corporate support we get, because they give us a big boost. They let us have their airtime. They help us with their social media. So really thankful to Corporate St. Lucia.
What about volunteers? Do you have persons coming in and asking to volunteer?
We do. We actually even have another company called Secure World who's come on board. We have various people who want to volunteer. There's just a real. I think the walk has earned its place as being serious and focused, and
It's become a respectable brand.
right.
And that's that. I like the fact that you use that. I'm in marketing, so when you use these buzzwords, it's really, and it's true, because when I see the walk for a cause in that way that you have it, I think straight back to Club Gar. It's a specific, it cannot be confused with any other walk, and we are noted now for having walks for everything. But it's true, we do have walks for everything. But when you think of Walk for a Cause, it's really branded, and persons know, okay, this is going to whether I remember what the cause is or not, I know it's going to a worthy cause. And I think from this show, I think more persons have an appreciation for how the monies is spent. Because a lot of people, one of the things that they say is, oh, that was a worthy cause and we'd never hear about it again. But there is accountability through the NCF, because the money goes through the NCF and
Absolutely.
not directly to anybody, individual person.
No, it has to go through the ends. And again, Laura, we always say, and I think you alluded to something I love. We always say, oh, things are not good in St. Lucia. But guess what? You either have to be part of the problem or part of the solution. If you want to be part of the solution, come out, support, walk, encourage your friends. And Digicel's rep, Sue, made a wonderful comment. She said, blindness is also related to health. Blindness is a health issue because it affects your quality of life. It's related to things like diabetes. So we're promoting good health. We're promoting good living. We're promoting the best of our St. Lucian people. Come out, be part of the solution by walking, by participating, by buying a T-shirt and getting out there with us. We really want that.
Absolutely. Now I have a message here, and this person is, and that always happens because it happened last year. It happened last year. Good evening, the Soufriere Comprehensive, and I think it was the Soufriere Comprehensive School as well. The Soufriere Comprehensive Student Council is also hosting a walk on June 3rd in Soufriere. Although the cause is bullying, we have also realized that a lot of persons who are partially blind or blinded fully get discriminated and bullied. We are hoping that next year or even this year, you guys can support and collaborate to make it an event in Soufriere as well. Thank you. And I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming because persons from the outside of the Castries Basin always want to participate physically. But you could appreciate on a Sunday coming from Soufriere, Labrie, Choiseul, it's kind of tough because you got to get a bus if you're not driving, if you're not mobile, and to get up there. And I just knew that somebody was going to ask, why not decentralize the walk and take it somewhere else? Is there any possibility of that happening?
That's a very good question.
Well, I think I'm really good at straight answers. I think the answer would be no. The problem is that the time it takes to organize this walk would amaze you. You know, we are on WhatsApp all day approving adverts.
All night.
All night. At 4:30 a.m. this morning, we're on the road putting up the signs. If you see them on the roundabouts, that we
Yes.
put up, you know. So we are constantly on the go to try and push this off because we all have other jobs.
Right.
It takes months to pull this off, and
Right.
it looks like a
yeah.
1 hour
yeah.
walk, but it's not a 1 hour walk.
Right.
It's and also to meet, to choose the charity, to organize, to do the research, to do it properly, to coordinate with the sponsors, to launch. I mean, again, JQ Motors, I almost forgot them as well.
Right.
You know,
Select.
Lou Select, almost, you know, so many sponsors we have who come on, you know, and it just takes a lot.
We have our first caller. You're on the air. Hello.
Hello, good evening. Hello.
Did we lose the caller?
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Good evening. You're on the air.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I must compliment the gentleman and the organization that they are with for hosting this Walk for a Cause, and those persons who have come in to assist. One of my actually, I just started listening to you all. I fell asleep before that, though. What I want to know is, if I cannot attend on the day, how do I get that money to the organization?
Okay. Thanks for calling in.
Because I don't just want to give it to anybody that might just pocket my $40 and put somewhere. You know, as you say, hey, they're giving me $40. Let me go and buy some chicken. So I want to know where, you know, a responsible place somewhere that I can, you know, I'm able to give the $30 and I know it's going to that cause.
Okay. So Gregory has an answer for that. Thank
Okay,
you for
my dear.
calling.
Thank you.
Thanks for
you so
calling
much.
in. So our registration centers are at Bread Basket in the IGY Marina, at Blue Monkey Restaurant, which is in Rodney Bay and on Bridge Street, Castries, at Steve's Barbershop, and at Digicel's Experience Store on William Peter Boulevard. You can also find us and contact us on social media at Walk for a Cause. If none of these outlets are easily accessible to you, we're going to make it happen. Your $30 will be well accounted for, signed, and received.
Yeah, and also again, you know, call if you want. Thank you, caller, for your support. But feel free. My number is 714-6969. Call me. I will answer the phone.
Absolutely.
Or send me a WhatsApp. You know, we really appreciate. This is what we think Walk for a Cause brings. People know we want to make a difference, and this lady, I think, is just the spirit of St. Lucia. She wants to support a worthy cause. And if it's
Just-
$30,
St.
Just give her
Lucian.
that number again. I'll take it a little bit slower so she can.
714-6969. Thank you, Laura. You sound like my primary school teacher.
Because I know you're going to be writing.
714-6969.
Yes. Okay, we have another WhatsApp viewer. She says her husband is blind, and she could tell you they're just differently able, and we don't have to shut them out of society. I take my husband everywhere. I am his eyes. Love and a lot of respect for the blind people out there. Compliments your guests for me. Compliments to you guys for what you're doing for the blind people.
Thank you.
Hats off to them for doing something honorable. Respect, guys. And that's a sentiment out there. You know, you're doing something. There are lots of people out there who maybe they're not blind, but they're impacted by blindness indirectly through a loved one or someone in the community. And one of the things that resonated with me, again, with the person from the Soufriere Comprehensive Student Council, is like I said to you earlier, when I was at school, we hardly had anybody wearing glasses. And the one person that I came into contact with was mercilessly teased. Now, in those days, we didn't look at it as bullying, but that's exactly what it was, because you're teasing somebody about something that they
have no
cannot
control.
do anything about.
Absolutely.
You know, I am plus size. I can lose weight. I can do something. I don't like my short hair. I can add on hair. I can grow my hair. I don't like the shape of my nose. I can fix that. But when you're blind or you're impaired, your sight is impaired, there's nothing really you can do about it, unless, of course, you have access to organizations like the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association that could help you with corrective surgery or help you deal with.
That's what I just wanted to add on, that they're not just specifically dealing with blind or visually impaired persons. They're prevention through education, through screening, through community outreach. They're about rehabilitation for, for visually impaired going back out into society, who have been being able to acclimatize and have the therapies and the necessary training to become active again. So it impacts everyone, because it's not just visually impaired or those who are going or coming back from it. It's their family members, it's their community members. The association reaches so far. I mean, as Anthony said earlier, once you start asking the questions and digging deeper, you realize how impactful the association can be, given the support that they need. And I mean, to go back to IK St. Lucia, keep in mind, this is the only avenue they have for self-income.
And this is, yes, and what's interesting, IK St. Lucia is the only avenue they have for self-income, but 80% of the treatments that they provide are free. And this came from the Caribbean Council of Blindness did a study in I think in the late 80s or 90s, and said one of the biggest reasons that we have such a negative impact of impaired vision is because people don't have the money to be able to procure the treatment, to procure the best care, to procure the best, to prevent or to correct. And there you have this organization going from statistics, from research, to actually implement an action in IK St. Lucia, and with that, delivering that quality of service, finding cheap glasses, but not cheap as in poor quality, cheap as in price.
Yes, absolutely.
But having the best qualified eye doctors in the world, that's priceless,
even more important. Exactly, that's even more important, because it's not an association or a sort of facility that is open only to a select or prejudiced few.
No,
it's open to any and everybody, even those persons who are not vulnerable, who can afford the best of health care, as it were, utilize this facility because they have the best. This is where the best resides.
Remember, the association is not just a group of people who came and said we want to do and help blind people. This has come through countless years of research, of case studies, to find the most effective way of using the resources in the most vulnerable communities in different parts of the island, plus the entire national program. Yeah. It's not random, and it's not just altruistic. It's very directed and it's very effective. It needs to be sustained.
And then you have training of teachers, training of caregivers, training of people who go out. There's specialists who actually go out and teach people who are visually impaired or blind how to cope in their homes. These things are direct. They are not concepts. They are direct, and they are sustainable once they are implemented. But you need to fund it if you want to make that difference, and this is what we're all about now. Wow. Let's raise the awareness, let's get the funding, and let's make it happen.
Absolutely.
Come be our best corporate sponsor, St. Lucia. Come out.
Yeah, and let me tell you, St. Lucians braved the weather last year, and came out. So we expect them to be here this year in greater numbers. We printed a certain number of T-shirts.
What is the number? What is your?
1,000 is what we've been doing the last 3 years, and we think that this year we should do more. But of course, you know what we're going to do? Print 1,000 T-shirts, and if you get there later, we can give you a band.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
okay.
so
you still get something.
You still get something. You still get it and get your free juices and your free stuff, but you gotta come in and contribute, because we really want people to know that this is something that's worth getting ahead of the curve for. So that's where we are.
So you've heard it, St. Lucia, from Club Gar. You've heard it from Dame Paulette. You need to come out. You need to come out. I learned so much, and I interviewed Mr. Averill before, and I got a lot of information from him. But every time I speak to the issue of blindness, is always something else that you can learn. And one of the things that just popped in my mind is that they actually provide prosthetic eyeballs. A lot of people don't know that.
That's right.
That they actually provide that. So
that's confidence.
There you go. And in a world where that's so superficial, you need every little bit of help that you need, and especially for the children.
Yeah.
And especially for the children, because you're growing up disadvantaged, as it were. And so you need every little ounce of, every little bit helps to help you to be able to integrate. And those 60 students a year, that's just amazing. Yeah. That's just amazing.
I tell you, the literature we've been provided with by St. Lucia Blind Welfare has been just amazing. To see the quantifiable difference and the number of routes they've taken to make a difference. It's awesome. From an organizational, like a business point of view, they'd be rated, top understand their market, meeting their market needs, avenues to market.
Absolutely.
You know, or the only thing they wouldn't meet their business thing on is bottom line, because their bottom line, however, is making a difference in people's lives,
Exactly.
and that's, you know, what Dame Paulette said. That's significant, marks a
Absolutely.
significant difference in the lives of many.
We're running out of time, so final words from you on the Walk for a Cause.
Sunday, June 3rd. Clear your morning.
You know.
Usually around what time does everything end, the walk and everything else?
Okay, well, this year we have something slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
We have some competitive runners. So I was with, yes, and they take off like a shot. They are out of there in no time.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a clock at the finish line this year for them. So these guys will finish in about some between 28 and 33 minutes, the really competitive ones. The average guys, weekend warriors like myself, will stroll in at about 36 to 38 minutes. And then, you know, I think other people will get there in 40, 45. So you get to the Club Gar base, our home, I would say everybody gets there in about an hour.
In about an hour.
When we get there now, we normally have light music, wind down, you know, and stretch down and so on. This year we have some people coming to give some free massages,
Very nice.
which
very
are going to be
nice.
nice to help people stress out. You know, through the corporate sponsors want to have.
I could
little-
feel my calves bunching. No, seriously, literally.
yeah.
I can feel my calves
Massages.
bunching already just thinking of and I don't really enjoy massages at all. It's
Yeah,
funny,
that's right,
but I could just feel my calves bunching just thinking of walking. But that massage would actually feel really good.
It
I mean,
would.
I'm not a massage person per se, but yeah, I could actually, yeah.
So again, you know, and again, before I say it, one of the sponsors has even said they want to do a comfort station for the police, because the police are always the biggest
yes,
team.
Yes.
And again, we really have to thank the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, and that is from the Office of the Commissioner and the Traffic Department. Their support is tremendous. You know, Ms. Norbert as well, always take care of getting the registration done and the police welfare are involved in it. So Royal St. Lucia Police Force are a big part of this in terms of not just buying in to support the cause, but the participation and again approval, which we get from them, and again always the professional support of the Traffic Department. So
Let
we'd
me
like to
just
thank
say
them.
something to St. Lucians here. I am disappointed that only 1,000 people walk for a cause. And especially for this year, I will make a special appeal for corporations. I mean, if you have 10 persons or more, it's
Bring your
$25
team.
per
Bring your
person.
team.
Come
Companies
on,
bring your
guys.
teams, of
Come
course.
on. I mean,
Come on.
you guys could do this. Like, we have 170,000 people residing in this country. Let's just say 100,000 are able. That's a lot of people. A lot of people who can contribute to something that you one day could potentially need. Maybe not for yourself directly, but a loved one, a child. Come on, support, work for your cause, excuse me, and especially the Blind Welfare Association. It is so important. It is so important. Just all of what we've spoken about tonight, it is so important for you to come out and support. Whether you can walk or not, I think it's so important. I can't say that enough. No, I really can't. I really can't. I'm just thinking, I've taken off my glasses. I'm going to end the show without my glasses, and I feel immensely uncomfortable because I can't see. I can just see shapes. I can't see directly. And just imagine you have to go through life more impaired than this. It's unacceptable. We've been talking a lot the last few weeks and months about healthcare. This is one tangible way that you can make a difference. Support Club Gar, support St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association. And this is it. This is where we end our show tonight. Anything else that you guys want to add?
Just thank
Thank
you,
you
thank
so
you,
much for
thank
having
you,
us on.
thank you, Junior. Thank you, Junior. Thank you, DBS, and most importantly, thank you, Laura. For your
Anytime,
support.
anytime. And guys, please, you can reach these guys throughout the various outlets that is spoken about all night long. Anthony he's taken a bold step. People don't give out their numbers just like that. Anthony has given you his number. Make that call. Support Club Gar and the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association. Until next week, this is where we say goodbye.